There were artists in 1970 who recorded one song, one single moment of lightning, and then vanished completely from history. Not because they weren't talented, not because the record wasn't good, because the music business in 1970 was a machine designed to chew through black artists and spit them out before anyone had time to notice. And yet the songs survived. This is RnB Rhythm, and today we're counting down the forgotten one-hit wonders of 1970, the artists who lit the fuse and disappeared before they could watch it burn. Stay to the end, because the story behind number 1 is the most shocking disappearing act in soul music history. Number 10, Doris Duke. To the Other Woman, I'm the Other Woman. Born in Atlanta, raised in gospel, signed to Canyon Records, a small independent label with no real infrastructure, and given one chance to show the world what she could do. Produced by the eccentric genius Jerry Swamp Dogg Williams. To the Other Woman was a blues-soaked, lush, devastatingly honest performance from a singer with one of the rawest voices of her generation. It charted, Canyon Records folded, and Doris Duke had nowhere left to go. Here's what tells you everything about how good that record was. Decades later, Northern soul enthusiasts in England, people who made it their life's work to hunt down the rarest Black American soul records, found it. They put it on dance floors in Wigan and Blackpool. They kept the flame alive long after America had forgotten to look. A voice that crossed an ocean on its own. Number 9, Bettye Swann. Don't you ever get tired of hurting me.
Why don't you let me be?
By 1970, Bettye Swann had moved from a tiny Louisiana label to Atlantic Records, and her Atlantic material pushed her into deeper Southern soul territory than anything she'd recorded before. What made Bettye remarkable was restraint. No pyrotechnics, no theatrical explosions. She found the emotional truth of a lyric and stayed inside it. Perfectly still, perfectly devastating. The kind of singing that doesn't sound like performing at all. Atlantic didn't know what to do with her. Too country for their pop push, too sophisticated for the R&B formula. She existed in the beautiful, borderless space between categories, and the industry had no box for that. The releases dried up, the moment passed, and today most listeners couldn't pick her voice out of a lineup.
Before we continue, most people watching RnB Rhythm right now aren't subscribed. And if you love these stories, the real history behind the music, this channel only works if people like you support it. So take 2 seconds. Hit subscribe if R&B history means something to you. Because every episode takes hours of research, archive digging, and fact-checking. And this music deserves to have its story told right. All right, back to the countdown.
Number 8, The Winstons. Color Him Father.
Big and strong.
The song charted in 1969 and won the Grammy for Best Rhythm and Blues Song in 1970. So the Winstons belong right here, on the hinge of this moment. But that's not the reason they're in this countdown. The B-side of Color Him Father was an instrumental called Amen, Brother, and buried inside that 6-minute track was a 4-bar drum break, played by drummer G.C. Coleman, that became the most sampled drum break in recorded music history. The Amen break. You have heard it thousands of times without knowing its name. It is the skeleton inside jungle music, drum and bass, and hip-hop records spanning 4 decades. NWA used it. The Prodigy used it. David Bowie used it. G.C. Coleman died in near poverty. The Winstons never registered the copyright. They never received a cent in sample royalties. One perfect moment. One technical oversight. A legacy that paid everyone else instead.
Looks at it. She holds my sister nail.
Number 7, the Delfonics. Didn't I Blow your mind this time.
Didn't I do it?
This was the commercial peak of the Delfonics. Number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100, Grammy winner for Best Rhythm and Blues Song in 1971. And it was the first great production by Tom Bell, the Philadelphia genius who would go on to build the entire sound of Philadelphia. The lush strings, the falsetto lead, the orchestral arrangements that didn't just accompany the song but were the song, all of it started here. William Hart's lead vocal exists somewhere outside the normal human range. He doesn't just sing high, he lives up there, comfortably, gracefully, in a space that should be impossible. But Tom Bell moved on to the stylistics and the spinners, and the Delfonics, the group that started everything, were left slightly behind. Their music endured. Decades later, Quentin Tarantino used "Didn't I?" in Jackie Brown and introduced it to a generation that had never heard it. How many of those listeners went looking for the full catalog? Not enough. Never enough. Number 6. Clarence Carter, Patches. A blind singer from Montgomery, Alabama, with a gift for storytelling that belonged in literature as much as music. Patches was a narrative ballad, a dying father's deathbed instructions to his oldest son. So specific, so unashamed in its sentiment. It felt more like a short story set to music than a pop record. It went to number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100. It won the Grammy for Best Rhythm and Blues Song in 1971. But here's the detail nobody tells you. Patches had already been recorded that same year by chairman of the board. A different group, a different label, competing for the same listeners. The practice of republishing songs to capture market share was standard, and the artists who found their own material suddenly racing against itself, they rarely came out whole. Clarence Carter outran the competition on this one, but the machinery around him was never built to protect what he built. Number 5. Freda Payne, Band of Gold. A Detroit native, classically trained, technically immaculate, and in 1970, handed a song by Holland Dozier Holland, the songwriting team who built most of the Motown hit catalog before their public departure from the label. The song they gave her, a woman alone on her wedding night, her husband in another room, the reason never explained, just the empty space where a marriage should have been. Freda Payne sang it with a controlled precision that made the restraint itself the most devastating thing about it. Band of Gold reached number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. It went to number 1 in the UK. It should have been the first of many. Instead, it was the ceiling. Follow-up singles underperformed. The Holland-Dozier-Holland partnership didn't produce the same lightning twice. And this classically trained, genuinely elite vocalist slowly moved toward television work and cabaret, the pivot that happens when the industry moves on before you do. She deserved a catalog. She got a moment. Number 4. The Five Stairsteps, OOH Child. Close your eyes. You know this song, that ascending melody. Things are gonna get easier. It has appeared in films, in television, in commercials, in cultural shorthand for decades. One of the most recognizable musical phrases in American popular music. And almost nobody knows it came from a family group. 5 siblings from Chicago, the Burke family, ages 8 to 17 at the time, who put out one of the most enduring pieces of music the year produced. In an era defined by assassination and war and broken promises, OOH Child offered something almost radical, pure, unshakable optimism. It peaked at number 8 on the Hot 100, and it never stopped mattering. The group dissolved, reformed, dissolved again. The business moved on, but the song never left. It never will. Number 3. Edwin Starr, War. The Temptations recorded War first, as an album cut. Berry Gordy considered it too politically volatile to release as a single. The business calculation was cold and deliberate, but the public had heard it. They wrote letters. They called radio stations. They demanded the record, so Gordy handed it to Edwin Starr, a performer with a reputation for intensity, for rawness, and let him record it as a single. What Edwin Starr did with that song is one of the great vocal performances in American recorded music. He didn't sing it, he detonated it. Every line a controlled explosion. The call and response, the barely contained fury, the decision to commit fully, without irony, without distance, and make it something that could not be dismissed as mere entertainment. War went to number 1 in August of 1970. It stayed there for 3 weeks, and it was the ceiling. Nothing else he made operated at that altitude. In the cultural conversation, he became the man who sang War, and only the most dedicated listeners know anything else about him. He deserved more. The record deserved a legacy as large as its shadow. Number 2. The Jackson 5, I'll Be There. Not one-hit wonders, not by any definition, but I'll Be There is the moment. The group's first 3 number 1s, I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, were brilliant pop funk, bouncing and irresistible. I'll Be There was different. Slower, more considered, more emotionally open. And it gave Michael Jackson, age 12, a moment to step beyond the child prodigy framework and suggest something everyone in that room could feel, but nobody could quite name yet. It went to number 1. It became the best-selling single of 1970. It remains one of the most beloved recordings in the American pop canon. But the Jackson 5 as a formation never reached that commercial height again together. Jermaine stayed with Motown when the others left. The chemistry fractured. The reinventions diluted what the original 5 had been. I'll Be There was the peak of the formation, and it was extraordinary. We have 1 entry left, and if you have been here this whole time, what comes next is everything we have been building toward. The most criminally overlooked vocal performance of 1970. The most complete erasure this genre ever produced. Number 1. Ann Peebles, Part-Time Love. Ann Peebles walked into High Records in Memphis in 1969 because she went to watch a performance. Willie Mitchell, the producer who would later transform Al Green into a soul icon, heard her in the crowd and insisted she record. Part-Time Love, released in 1970, was her introduction. A driving, ferociously performed declaration from a woman done accepting the half-measure version of what she deserved. The horn arrangements, the Memphis rhythm section, and above all, her voice. Low, controlled, authoritative. A natural grit that made everything around it sound polished by comparison. It was a significant R&B hit. It announced the beginning of something, but the pattern it established defined her career. Critically celebrated, chronically under-promoted, given just enough room to keep recording, but never enough room to be seen. Her 1973 record, I Can't Stand the Rain, which she co-wrote, is now considered a stone classic, one of the finest soul recordings ever made. Al Green covered it. Tina Turner covered it. It has been sampled continuously for 50 years, but the infrastructure around her never held. High Records faltered. Her catalog went out of print. A generation of listeners who might have loved her simply never encountered her. There is a version of history where Ann Peebles is discussed alongside Aretha Franklin, alongside Mavis Staples, alongside every name we reach for automatically when we talk about the great voices of soul music. The recordings are there. The evidence is overwhelming. The machine just didn't work for her the way it worked for others.
For the rain